I mean, I didn't swear, I didn't see the hand, but this is obviously the nuts. Come on. When somebody at low stakes, like, bets and then, like, bets half pot and, like, 3 bets big on turn and then just shoves 2.5x on this run out. Are there monkeys bluffing like this? Sure. But extremely unlikely. So, yeah, I mean, this is just obviously the nuts. Okay, so we see a 3x open raise right here. Not really a sizing I would generally recommend. Now, if Mr. Tifon, let's say, is a mega whale, he calls any hand against any sizing, go ahead and size up, of course. But theoretically speaking, at least, I'm not a big fan of this open raise size. And so this is bound to happen. You know, you're going to get 3-bet a decent amount being deep stacked, which kind of sucks. Villain 3-bet to 10 big blinds, which is like, all right. Very big 4-bet here. I would have preferred a slightly smaller 4-bet, more like 750, but it's not a huge deal. And we see a king-queen deuce flop, so both players I could definitely see having a set of kings or a set of queens. The cutoff player may be shoving some of those at a more shallow stack depth, but at 200 big blinds deep, I would expect him to call in like queens virtually always and like kings often as well. So it's a good board for the cutoff for the MP player, but he does have to worry about sets. He will have sets himself though. And so he's probably thinking, ooh, man, my opponent can have a lot of sets here. Maybe even have some hands like king, queen suited or ace, king. I want to have a checking range, which is absolutely fine playing so deep. Big bet by the cutoff. Not really a big fan of this play. I mean, the board is not super wet, but not super dry. If you're value betting here, I don't mind sizing up a little bit because your range is quite polarized, right? And as I said, protection is a little bit important, but I don't think we need to be betting so large. Once you bet 1250 with ace king, a lot of hands that are worse than ace king are going to just be folding. Okay, check call. Don't really need to do a whole lot of raising versus this really big bet. Turns a 7, which should not really matter. I guess it's possible the cutoff has a hand like, you know, 8-7 of spades, but should not really matter. And so the cutoff ships all in here. Not really a play I like. Again, if you have a hand like ace king, you're just overplaying your hands. Your opponent could just be slow playing queens or kings, or maybe a hand like aces, or maybe just chop with ace king. So you're just making a lot of your opponent's weaker hands fold. Wow, okay. So cutoff actually has the stoned cold nut, so he must be very happy to just be getting the money in. However, I don't like his play at all. I like the call against the 4-bet. I don't mind stabbing the flop on the turn, but his hand is so good. His hand doesn't really need protection, right? If you're up against ace king, your opponent's dead. If you're up against ace queen, he's dead. If he's got aces like you did, he's got 2 outs, right? You don't need to be betting so large. You could just bet normal amounts on flop and turn and then just ship all in the river. And the MP player is probably thinking, man, if this guy had queens or kings, would he really overplay his hand like this? You know, it seems like he just has a hand like, you know, ace, queen of spades. And he's trying to get me to fold a hand like what I've got. So I don't really blame MP for calling, though calling off 400 big blinds with one pair when your opponent has a lot of sets is probably not a great thing. So I think he may have been able to fold, but maybe this guy's a nut job, right? And then it would have been an easy call. So I don't mind MP's play. I'll give him a 7.5 out of 10. He can probably fold the turn. I mean, I'm not folding this hand against a very strong player at high stakes, but remember, these guys likely are not top players, right? And cutoff, I'll give him a 4 out of 10. I don't mind the line of calling the 4-bet. In fact, I like that. I don't mind betting, but I don't really like the bet sizes. He's just giving his opponent an easy way out. So fun start to the session. Remember, I mean, this is 400 big blinds each. So funny open raise size right here, 2.5x, but it looks funny because it's 62 cents. 2.5 I like a lot more than 3x. Small blind calls here, and especially being so deep and with the rake, I don't like having a flat calling range here. I would just play 3-bet or fold, so I think that's a mistake. Unless, let's say, Yevgen is a big whale and you want to keep him in the pot, then it would make a lot more sense. Good bet size by MP. I like the sizing. Pretty dry board. It's a good way of pressuring a lot of the medium strength hands by both players in both players' ranges. The ace is a good card, especially for middle position. I don't think Gerard has ace-king here much. He might have had like ace-7 or ace-3, but again, Rio is much more likely to have had like aces or ace-king, or obviously has like kings and 7. So he's going to be quite aggressive here. Overbet. Don't like this sizing. I mean, I like this pre-flop play more. I like this flop sizing. Turn size I'm not a fan of. He should definitely be going with a bigger bet size. And so Gerard is repping a pretty strong range, right? He's check raising deep out of position on an ace-king high board. He's repping something pretty good. And so kind of funny hand. So you're betting half the pot saying, oh, I've got like a medium hand like king-queen. And now you 3-bet over the check raise. So very suspicious here. Kind of looks like this guy's just trapping with the nuts. 6 doesn't really matter unless somebody had specifically like 5-4 of diamonds or spades. I mean, I didn't see the hand, but this is obviously the nuts. Come on. When somebody had low stakes, like bets and then like bets half pot and like 3 bets big on turn and then just shoves 2.5x on this run out. Are there monkeys bluffing like this? Sure. But extremely unlikely. So yeah, I mean, this is just obviously the nuts. Let's replay this. So small bet. Half pot is too small. And now he check raises, right? And so he's maybe thinking, oh, I check raise so small, so maybe I just ask for it, and this guy's just going to go crazy with some kind of weird hand. But at NL25, a tip I would give you, when people go for like crazy big bets, like crazy lines, they generally just have it. There's going to be a couple of players who are just super crazy, right? Maybe people who don't give a shit about $100, right? And they're like, oh, fuck it, I'll just bluff it off. But when people play this in position 3-bet style like this, deep stacked, and then on a blank river, they just go like 2.5x pot all in, they've just got it. So is a7 in theory an okay call? Sure. But remember, we're playing against most likely Nit, who just has 0 bluffs in his range. He just always has aces or kings, or like 7s or whatever he has. So very poor pre-flop call by Gerard. I don't mind his flop call. His turn check raise. I mean, I get it. You know, your opponent bet half pot, and you know it's a wet board. But you're so deep out of position. When the pot gets very large, you're going to be on the wrong end of it very often. And so that's what happened, right? It all starts with the pre-flop call. Playing bad hands out of position like this will get you in trouble. And then Ganryu just always has it, obviously, but Gerard did not fold. I'll give Gerard a 2 out of 10. Ganryu, I'll give him like a 6. I mean, he did manage to get in all the money, right? So you have to give him some props, even though we're being results oriented. But he should have just gone with a more standard bet size on the turn. And I mean, I can't blame him for just trying to milk this guy, but you know, could have been a little bit sharper. All right, so a min raise by Mike, which I don't really mind. I would prefer a slightly bigger raise, but I don't mind it. So looks like the small blind is a recreational player because I mean he doesn't have a full stack but close to it, but he flatted in the small blind, which again I don't really recommend at low stakes, especially with the high rake, etc. So the big blind ends up squeezing. He's going to squeeze quite aggressively, right? Trying to isolate the weaker player. I don't know if Mike's a weaker player. I would have preferred a slightly bigger squeeze by Kongen, but I don't mind it. I would expect both players to call too loose here. 10-10-4 is a board on which everybody can improve. I could see the small blind and the button having 4s. I could see them having a lot of 10s. I could see Kongen having obviously a lot of overpairs as well as a lot of 10s. So he goes for like a funny bet size, you know, like 4 and the 7. I would prefer slightly smaller sizing here, unless you say, hey, these guys are both whales and just call whatever, right? I don't care about a 10. These guys just called on any pair. Okay, size up. But without that read, I prefer to bet smaller. It's a bit tougher to play against. Okay, so, and now Kongen bets, he bets 2/3 pot roughly. I don't mind this sizing. I mean, the board is still quite dry, right? So it's a pretty clear value bet with a hand like pocket jacks the majority of the time. And yes, you can be up against a hand like pocket 4s and like a 10, but you're also getting called by flush draws and some hands like mid pairs. All right, Mike ends up calling. Deuce should not matter. If anything, Kongen improves with hand like ace-3 suited, but again, low frequency stuff right there. Half pot by Kongen. I mean, Kongen is representing a hand like kings or something, right? Maybe like queens, stuff like that. Not really a big fan of this size. I mean, it's okay. It's okay. Let's see what Mike does. Mike ships all in, 2.5x. And this is a difficult bluff to pull off, right? Are you really double floating the ace-4 suited to then min-raise all in to block 4s and ace-10 and aces? That's a pretty tough one to pull off. Yeah. Okay, so I like Kongan's squeeze, obviously, although I prefer a bigger one. I would have preferred a slightly smaller sizing on the flop. Turn sizing, I definitely don't mind. And on the river, you know, I mean, I swear I didn't see his hand, but yeah, I thought he had queens or kings here. And so he probably thinks, I didn't shove, maybe I look weak. So when he raises all in, like, you know, he's going to bluff raise me. Most likely Mike is just never bluffing, right? And so I'll give Mike a 7 out of 10. His pre-flop call is definitely a mistake, but calling flop turn and raising river all in, I think is a good play. I think you can raise all in. It's slightly on the thin side, obviously. I mean, your opponent could have ace 10, but I mean, that's about it. He cannot have pocket 10, so it's actually not very thin. So I like Mike's play other than pre-flop. Kongan's play is it's very rough around the edges. I'll give him a 5. I think he can be folding the river here, being so deep and with such a mediocre hand. So I'll give him a 5. You know, I like the squeeze. I don't even mind tripling. The sizes and everything could just be far sharper. So we've got 2.5x in the small blind, which at lower stakes makes a lot more sense than at higher stakes, I would say. Big blind 3-bets to 10 big blinds, definitely too large of a 3-bet. Yes, we're deep, but I don't like this sizing too much. Small blind calls. Mistake. Okay, slow down, guys. Slow down. Way too fast. Okay, so get to the flop, and we see ace 9-3 flush draw. Photographic memory, you see. I remember 3 cards and flush draw. So villain is likely just going to bet quite small and at a high frequency. Will he bet his full range? I don't know, but he's likely betting a lot. So he's going to bet. And so he actually bets something like, you know, 2/3 pot, a little bit less. Oh, sorry. He bets about 2/3 pot here. So it's okay. It's fine. But I prefer smaller sizing. Turn is a queen, and Skyboy should be barreling quite aggressively on this board. I don't know if he c-bets queens for this sizing, but I do imagine he has ace-queen and ace-king and stuff like that, and like hands like ace-jack of spades. So he's pretty happy here. Bet of 7 here. Again, I would have preferred a slightly bigger bet. Very raw play by Skyboy. River is a 10, which is going to improve Skyboy as well. He could have hand like king-jack here. Maybe he kept barreling ace 10. Money Shark could have hand like king-jack of spades or clubs, not really the offsuit combinations. And so let's see if Skyboy goes for the shove here or more for like a $16 bet. Again, he goes for third pot. I think he's trying to like find some bet size with ace king or something. Wow, okay. Gets check raised by Money Shark and okay. I would say every street was played poorly by both players, except for maybe the turn call by Money Shark. Okay, so pre-flop raise size by Money Shark, fine. 3-bet sizing by Skyboy, way too large. Money Shark should never call his hand pre. Should always forward better fold there. On the flop, I don't mind the call by Money Shark, I guess. Skyboy sizing, I don't like. Turn, Skyboy sizing, I don't like. Money Shark's call is fine. And on the river, I mean, if Money Shark thinks that Skyboy is just betting thinly with hands like ace king and would just shove with good hands, yeah, maybe you can find a thin value shove, but it really depends on the player. It's a little bit thin. And then Skyboy called with ace queen. I mean, given the fact that villain could have worse value hands and bluffs, I would say clear call. So I'd give Skyboy a 3 out of 10. Very poor play, like very poor fundamentals mostly. Yeah, he put in a lot of money with ace queen top 2. That's a good thing, but the way he got to that result was very poor. Money Shark, I'll give him like a 5. Yeah. And guys, I'm being critical, of course, but the thing is, I'm comparing these plays to perfect plays, right? I don't expect you to play perfectly if you plan on 25. You're likely not a professional. Maybe you're trying to be one, and it's a good way of improving, right? But so don't think that I'm saying, oh, these guys are bad people. No, of course not, right? There's just a lot wrong with these plays, as you'd expect. If there were nothing wrong with their plays, they'd be playing higher stakes, right? So it's a learning process. And I don't think it's a good thing to make fun of people for not playing well. You know, we're all good at things and we're all bad at things, right? So, you know, if you see a fat guy at the gym, you should just say, hey, well, he may not be in good shape, but he's trying, right? Which is more admirable than, let's say, a fat guy on the couch, right? Eating chips, because that guy's not trying. So everybody's at a different part of their learning journey, right? Everybody has different levels of progress. So it's about the effort you put in, not where you are right now. We all were in Skyboy's spot at one time, right? We were all in Money Shark spot, or you may still be. So it's just about trying to do the best you can and being a little bit better than you were yesterday and trying to repeat that process. And that's why you go from being a decent player, like both of them, to being a great player, like you name it. Okay, fine open raise sizing and a 3-bet here. Okay. So this side, I definitely like the fact that Nobra ended up 3-betting rather than calling. You should not have any calls in this spot. So Button ends up 4-betting. I like this play as well, but I hate the sizing. I don't just dislike it. I hate the sizing. It's way too much. And I mean, it's basically a 100 big blind game, right? Even though Under the Gun has way more. I mean, he has a huge stack. Realistically, everybody has about 100 big blinds. And so Under the Gun ends up cold calling. Big mistake, guys. Don't do this. Don't cold call 3-bets. I mean, even high stakes, occasionally I see a reg do it. Is there a circumstance you can imagine where it might make sense? Sure, right? You can always imagine something where one guy's deep and is a mega whale and whatever. And you have position on him and he does X and Y and Z wrong. Sure. But don't cold call 3-bets. Don't cold call 4-bets especially. Don't cold call huge 4-bets out of position. This is a 0 out of 10 play by DR. The open raise size was fun. Well, I mean, now he has to call, right? Call 10 unsuited. All right, so they get it in, and wow. Everybody actually, yeah, everybody can win. Wow, shocking. I mean, I did not expect him to win, obviously, man. So looking back at that again. Boom, boom, boom. I mean, what a spot when you have aces, right? 85%. I remember I played a hand on NL5K once, long time ago, like 6 years ago or something. I got it in with aces against kings twice. I think it was 5K each, so 15K pot, roughly, a bit less. And it was a 9-10 Jack Queen Queen run out. Yeah, 9-10 Queen Jack run out, and the kings both won. Shitty spot for Nobra. Obviously, his cards are not live. So, I mean, on the turn, it's actually... on the flop, it's actually interesting, right? I mean, he's obviously in insane trouble. Because the thing is, I mean, if the club hits, he won't hit it, and he needs a king, but that's only one out. So, a tough one. I mean, you can, like, backdoor split and stuff like that. So, yeah. Wow. Nice, lucky day by him. So, okay, so Nobra, I think, played his hand perfectly. I like his play. I like the fact that Badges got it in, but his sizing was terrible in the flop, or like pre-flop. And DR, I like his open raise sizing, but I don't like the cold call. You should have no cold calls there, not just because you have aces or queens or jacks, doesn't matter. Shove or fold.